I got a Southern Wayne one, it's okay. Alright, now let's try this again.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I think they went out and got that. I'm sure they went out and got that trash up there at the or CVS.
You got to see one of my favorite council members.
Hopefully she doesn't show up with
Reverend
that.
Williams here.
Being here, and I appreciate y'all allowing me a little bit of an absence last week. I apologize for messing with that microphone right there, but I know the meeting went swimmingly and with brevity. And so then here I come back with this agenda. So I'm going to go ahead and apologize up front. It's not going to be 65 minutes tonight, but it's going to be a good meeting. We got a lot of things to celebrate and a lot of things that we get to push across the line tonight. Some big items as well as some things that are just purely getting to celebrate. So with that, we will begin with a invocation. Archbishop Slater, our police chaplain, if you please come forward.
Good evening, everyone. Shall we pray? Our Father and our God, we thank you for this moment that we can call on your name. We say thank you for all that you've done and all that you're about to do. Now, Father, tonight we come to do business. We ask you to watch over us, Lord, as we begin to make things happen. Thank you for this great city, Lord, as you continue to bring us together. And we thank you in advance for what's getting ready to happen, Lord, and even those that are coming, God. Father, we thank you in advance in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Will you please join me in the pledge? Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Madam Clerk, if you would please conduct a roll call.
Mayor Gaylor,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Jones,
Present.
Councilman Boyette,
Present.
Councilwoman Taylor,
Present.
Councilwoman Matthews, Councilwoman Weeks.
Present.
Councilman White.
Present. All right, council, we have an agenda in front of us. Are there any alterations, additions, or to the agenda? First off, Ms. Getz, Mr. Livingston, is there any last minute changes to the agenda from y'all's perspective? None? All right. Council, are there any additions or changes requested to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
All right, motion has been made and properly seconded
Yes.
to adopt the agenda as presented. Is there any debate? Hearing none, I will call the vote. All in favor, please raise your hands. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, motion passes. All right. We will roll straight into recognitions and presentations. We'll move to item 4.1, the Dillard Goldsboro Alumni and Friends Proclamation. If you'll allow me just a moment to pull it up. And then, the way that we will proceed with this, if it's all right, I will read the proclamation from right up here. And then I believe there's someone here to receive the proclamation. Yes, sir. I thought so. All right. So with that, Dillard Goldsboro Alumni and Friends Incorporated Proclamation. Whereas Dillard High School in Goldsboro, North Carolina was the outgrowth of a private school founded in 1866 for black students and has a rich history of providing education to the black community. And whereas the Dillard Goldsboro Alumni and Friends Incorporated is a nonprofit organization dedicated to preserving the legacy of Dillard High School and Goldsboro High School and providing educational opportunities for students in the community. And whereas the National Scholarship Committee of the Dillard Goldsboro Alumni and Friends Incorporated is responsible for selecting recipients and awarding scholarships to high school students in the community, providing them with the opportunity to pursue higher education and achieve their goals. And whereas the Dillard Goldsboro Alumni and Friends Incorporated is hosting their 70th annual homecoming celebration during Memorial Day weekend from Thursday, May 22nd, 2025 to Sunday, May 25th, 2025 to honor the history and achievements of Dillard High School and Goldsboro High School alumni. Now therefore be it resolved that the Goldsboro City Council does hereby proclaim our support for the Dillard Goldsboro Alumni and Friends Incorporated in their efforts to preserve the history and legacy of Dillard High School and Goldsboro High School. We commend their commitment to providing educational opportunities for students in the community and recognize their contributions to the betterment of our city. We urge all citizens to join us in celebrating this Memorial Day weekend 2025 and to support the Dillard Goldsboro Alumni and Friends Incorporated in their endeavors to empower the next generation of leaders through education. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and affix the seal of the city of Goldsboro, this the 19th day of May 2025. Sir, if you'll come forward. Step right back over here. And then if you have any comments, please.
Not really, you know, just filling in.
All right, either this way or this, whichever you'd like to address.
What, you want me to address the board or?
If you'd like to. Yes, sir, if you have any comments to the board.
Oh,
certainly
no,
like to.
yeah. Yes, we are, this is our 7th year in business. I'm a 1954 graduate. And I was up here right in one of those seats back there in 2000, getting ready to renovate our gymnasium. Was a gym, but we renovated it. And the city, you know, provided us the funds to do it. I oversaw it. I stayed on top of it. And we cut the ribbon in 2000 and went into our new facility. And we're doing some repairs now. And all the property out there is real old, but we're trying to maintain it. And we always need money, you know, because most of our money is scholarships. And one day, maybe we can really find out if we reach that $1 million total yet. I believe we have in scholarship money. That's a lot of money for scholarships, and we're still giving it out. And that's our main goal, is scholarships. And I want to thank the board, the city council, and the city of Goldsboro for your support, and hope we can keep getting support. The last support we were getting was Mayor Plunk was mayor then, and he was always at our award nights, you know. And so we really appreciate it. Thank you now.
Thank you, sir.
All right. picture with this in here. Step right back over here in front. There you go. Exactly. Next, we'll move to item 4.2, Employee Supervisor of the Quarter Awards, Mr. Livingston.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me pull this up a second here. Let's get it from you to read it. Our first award for Employee of the Quarter, second quarter fiscal year, has been awarded to Robin Gerganis for outstanding achievement. We are proud to recognize Robin for this outstanding contribution. Not only is his role as safety coordinator, but also for stepping up to take on additional responsibilities of ADA coordinator and risk management with exceptional dedication and skill. Since assuming these expanded duties, Robin has consistently demonstrated the ability to manage multiple critical areas with professionalism and focus. In his role as safety coordinator, Robin continues to lead our safety programs, ensure compliance with workplace safety regulations, and deliver vital training initiatives. Robin has also assumed the added responsibilities of ADA coordinator and risk manager, ensuring that all operations run smoothly and within full compliance of concerning relevant standards and policy. As his role as the ADA coordinator, Robin works diligently to ensure a fully accessible and inclusive workplace. He addresses individual needs with empathy and thoroughness while providing ongoing guidance to leadership to maintain compliance with ADA standards. His efforts have fostered a more inclusive and supportive environment for all employees. Robin's resilience, strong work ethic, and unwavering commitment to the well-being of our team have had a professional impact on our workplace culture. Robin is an invaluable asset to our team. We are grateful for his continued service. Robin's work ethic and accomplishments reflect well on himself and the city of Goldsboro. Awarded this day, May 19th, 2025. Stand down here and do this one. Since I'm down here, I'll go ahead and operate from here. Okay, this next award is Supervisor of the Quarter Award. Real happy to do this one here. It's been awarded to Gaston Lopez for outstanding achievement. Gaston plays a critical role in preserving the cleanliness, safety, and livability of our city. As a supervisor of the Environmental Codes Inspector, he has a dedicated team responsible for promptly addressing zoning inquiries, investigating code violations, ensuring compliance across city streets, rights-of-way, and private properties. He exemplifies exceptional leadership, professionalism, and commitment in his role. His deep expertise allows him to interpret and apply a wide range of city codes and ordinances, particularly those related to signage, nuisances, and other neighborhood concerns. Gaston is not only an invaluable resource for his team and the public, but also a model of patience, understanding, and approachability. His sense of humor and positive outlook create a supportive and engaging work environment where staff feel empowered and appreciated. What truly sets Gaston apart, though, is his strength in public engagement and conflict resolution. He approaches every situation with empathy, fairness, respect, building trust among his colleagues, community members, and external partners alike. Thanks to his leadership, every challenge becomes an opportunity to strengthen the connection between the city and its residents. Gaston's work ethic and accomplishments reflect well on himself and the city of Goldsboro. Awarded this day, May 19th, 2025.
first of all, I want to thank the Lord for His love, and His mercy, and I want to thank those who nominated me to get this award. I want to thank everybody to give me the chance to be working for the city of Goldsboro. I've been here a long time, and I really enjoy it, and I love the city.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Here's a little.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
It's all right.
Do it again. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have got some fantastic folks that do the people's work in this city. Both of those are about culture. Safety in an organization is a cultural decision. The code enforcement is setting the bar. It's a cultural decision. It's trying to raise the bar for everyone around you. And I just think that's just two absolutely fantastic selections, Matt. Absolutely fantastic. Next, we'll move to National Public Works Week proclamation that I just had up and then closed by mistake. Right? Okay. National Public Works Week proclamation. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to public health, high quality of life, and the well-being of the people of Goldsboro, North Carolina. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, our public buildings, and other structure and facilities essential to our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest of the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Goldsboro, North Carolina to gain knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2025 marks the 65th annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the National Public Works Association, whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. Now therefore be it resolved that the Goldsboro City Council does hereby designate the week of May 18th to the 24th, 2025 as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies dedicated to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and advancing the quality of life for all. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and affix the seal of the city of Goldsboro, North Carolina, this the 19th day of May, 2025. So, Rick, all right over there. You're not good at hiding.
I'm not.
You never are. Then you put the guys in bright fluorescent vests, and you're just not good at hiding. Rick, thank you for all you do. This is obviously for the team. This is the whole department. This is the crew that gets dirty. This is the managers who help show them where to go, and the folks that tell them how to do it safely and effectively, and the leadership to make sure they get the resources that they need. So I'm going to turn over the microphone to you, but I just want to get that out there. This is for the entire crew. So thank you.
Absolutely. We're all fortunate to have the team we have out there. They're involved in throughout the city every day of the week, and I would put them up against any team, any public works department, anywhere. Not perfect by any means. There is no organization that's perfect, but I'm very proud of the team we've been able to assemble out there and what we get done with what we have every week, every day. And our motto is, we get dirty so the city can shine. So very proud of that.
Sit back, come back. You've done this before. Thank you. Next, we get to recognize one of the partners in our community who is doing some outstanding stuff. If we could have a representative from the Phi Alpha Alpha chapter of Omega Psi Phi to come forward.
Good evening, Mayor,
Good evening.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council, and staff. Good to see you. Hadn't done this in about 11 years when we first started our nonprofit organization to mentor kids in our community. On tonight, which is an exciting night, we continue to celebrate as an organization our work in the community within ourselves. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Octavius Murphy. I currently serve as the Vice President of the Phi Alpha Alpha chapter of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. In addition to that, I serve as the chairperson for our mentoring program at North Drive Elementary School. Our president, Corey Lewis, gives his regards. He could not be here tonight, so we're usually tag teaming on this presentation. But the reason we're here is our work is weekly. We go into our school system and mentor second grade students. These students are, well, specifically 80 plus boys on a weekly basis. The entire population comes from our Goldsboro Housing Authority. So you can imagine the challenges that they deal with each and every day. We have up to 10 members of our organization show up each week. It's become a work of the heart, a work of the passion, because now, after 2 years of mentoring these kids, is more about what the kids are sowing into us versus what we're sowing into the children. So these are exciting times. Somehow, some way, the information was presented to our district. We are referred to as the 6th district, and which is inclusive of both North and South Carolina. Well, and on April the 24th, at our annual meeting, our 80th annual meeting in Raleigh, the district awarded the Phi Alpha Alpha chapter of Omega Psi Phi 2 distinguished awards that have never been accomplished in the city of Goldsboro or for us. These awards are as presented. The 6th district of Omega Psi Phi fraternity is proud to honor Phi Alpha Alpha chapter in North Carolina, which is a graduate chapter, as the 2025 Fatherhood Program of the Year for their service through leadership and resources to our undergraduates and our families and men who serve the community as fathers and mentors. The Fatherhood and Mentor Committee of the mighty 6th District. So not only were we awarded the 2025 Fatherhood Program of the Year, we were awarded the 2025 Mentor Program of the Year. So this is really big for a small organization or a small chapter like we are, but it's even bigger because of the impact we make on these 80 plus boys on a weekly basis. If we're absent, they ask for us specifically. Where's Mr. Murphy? We don't have the resources to mentor the girls in the school, but they're starving for our attention, but we can only do what we can do. So we wanted to share this award with the city of Goldsboro, the city council, and just bring it to your attention. What's going on? Because these kids are at every level. And if you can imagine what that is, it's not what you see on TV, the high-performing student. These are the students that struggle, and we're able to help them with their day-to-day activities and their work and reading programs. So on behalf of the Phi Alpha Alpha chapter of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, we thank you for your support and your continued support, because it is important that you know what's going on from local organizations within the community. And Councilmember White, congratulations on what you're doing with the Kappa League program, successfully graduating 7 students from your program, of which we have a parent in here tonight, but I'll let you talk about that. But good stuff. This is clearly an assault on illiteracy. We're gonna do the best that we can to affect change and make sure our children are headed in the right direction with our support. Thank you.
Thank you. It is it's wonderful how the community is pouring into North Drive. I myself am a graduate of North Drive. Went through there in first grade, and then car rides for 2 and 3. Anyway, it's amazing how the community is wrapping its arms around and pouring itself into. And so thank you to the men, the work that you're doing. Please don't stop. Please don't stop. Next, we'll move to item 4.5. This is a pretty unique opportunity here. We are recognizing a individual who is being inducted into the Wayne County Wall of Fame. And this is someone who has ties to right here in Goldsboro, and as such, felt it appropriate to bring forward a proclamation. This is a proclamation honoring the legacy of Dr. Edmund W. Gordon. Whereas Dr. Edmund W. Gordon was born in Goldsboro, North Carolina in 1921, and is a graduate of Dillard High School, having gone on to pursue higher education at Howard University, the American University, and the Teachers College at Columbia University, earning degrees in zoology, social ethics, social psychology, and child development. And whereas Dr. Gordon is widely recognized as a pioneering African-American psychologist, educator, and scholar whose career has spanned more than 70 years, during which he authored or edited nearly 200 publications and earned distinction as Professor Emeritus at both Yale University and Columbia University. And whereas early in his academic life, Dr. Gordon was mentored by esteemed intellectuals such as Alan Locke, W.E.B. Du Bois, whose influence helped shape his lifelong commitment to educational equity and human development. And whereas Dr. Gordon's academic appointments include faculty positions at Yeshiva University, Columbia University, Yale University, City College of New York, and Rockland Community College, and he has held leadership roles in national education policy and psychology research through his service with Head Start, the U.S. Office of Education, and the College Board, amongst others. And whereas Dr. Gordon has received numerous honors and awards, including honorary degrees from Yale, Howard, and Brown, and in 2014, the University of Texas at Austin named its Black and Latino Studies building in his and his wife's honor. And whereas Dr. Gordon's lifelong commitment to civic engagement includes his involvement with the NAACP, the ACLU, and as co-founder of the CEJJES Institute in Paloma, New York, a foundation dedicated to research and social justice for marginalized communities. And whereas on May 20th, 2025, Dr. Edmund W. Gordon will be inducted into the Wayne County Wall of Fame in recognition of his enduring contributions to education, psychology, and social justice. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Goldsboro City Council does hereby recognize and honor Dr. Edmund W. Gordon for his profound and lasting contributions to the intellectual, civic, and cultural fabric of our community and our nation. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and affixed the seal of the city of Goldsboro, North Carolina, this the 19th day of May, 2025. And I don't believe there's anyone coming forward to receive that one. That one is one for the records, and I appreciate everyone's time and attention. It's fascinating piece of our history. All right, now we will move forward to section 5. Item 5.1 is a public hearing. It is the draft FY 25 through 29 consolidated plan and the 25-26 annual action plan. Mr. Livingston, will you be given? Oh, please come forward. All right. You had already hopped up. Perfect.
Give some words first.
Well, we're just anxious to hear the update on the con plan, and go ahead, Crystal. Feel free to
Crystal,
give
thank
us
you
the
for
update.
your work. I realize it's been a transition, and you and the crew have really
Thank you for that. So just really quickly, we're going to do our first public hearing while comprising our consolidated plan. So just really quickly, the City of Goldsboro is an entitlement city, which means that we get 2 pots of funding, which is CDBG and home funding. And so prerequisite to those, we must do a consolidated plan that goes over our 5-year strategies and goals for the city. So we have a consultant who's helping us. So it's going to be Mr. Jason Wright on Zoom. I don't know if he's tuned in, but he's going to give a brief presentation, and then we're going to do our public hearing for public comments.
Good.
He's logging in.
Point I don't need to say very much, but Dr. Gordon was also instrumental in starting Head Start.
It's I would encourage folks to look him up and understand a little bit more about all the pieces that he has impacted. It's really fascinating reading, and I encourage everyone to learn their history.
So I'm all the way.
I'm glad you added that. I'm glad you added that.
Can you let him know he's muted?
Mr. Wright, if you can hear me, you are muted. But once you are available, we're ready for your comments.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Actually, I'm just joining in, so I'm not exactly sure where you left off, but just allow me to get into to join your meeting. So let me.
Crystal, do you mind coming back forward and just briefly laying the land for him, and then we can get going. We just began. She kind of gave us a 30,000-foot overview.
Hey, good evening, Jason. Hey, I just introduced you, just went briefly over what a comp plan is, that you were assisting our department with writing, and just we're doing a public hearing, so you can start with your presentation at the beginning.
Okay, let me. Forgive me since I'm just allowing to get in. Second. Can you all see my presentation, or is this still just my screen?
Right now it is just your screen, but that might be on our end. So IT, if you're watching, we might need to switch.
Are you sharing your screen, Jason?
Yeah, since I just got in, I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to set this up.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
Just get into the screen 1 second here.
It's okay. We're good.
Okay.
And in the meantime, I'll mention that just good news, HUD actually released our funding last week. So everyone across the nation has been in pins and needles. So that's very good news that we're going to have allocation for this year.
There have been a lot of us just reading the tea leaves that have really been curious about what was going to happen for 26 and what was going to happen if there were any form of clawback or anything for 25. So that was relieving. So.
Crystal, could you kind of go over those distributions with home, ARP, and?
Sure. So for CDBG for 2025, we've been allotted $337,814. And for home, we've been allotted $225,732.15. So that, of course, goes with any prior year funding that we have, and CDBG-CV and home ARP.
Okay, well, let me go ahead and get started. I'll see if I can bring the screen in. Of course, my name is Jason Wright. I'm a senior consultant at Chris's Research and Consultant, and we are thrilled to be coupled with the city of Goldsboro to develop their consolidated plan. What the goal here today is to just give a overview of the plan and just talk about some of the parts of it and where we are and where we will be. This is the first of 2 meetings that we will end up having. And this first meeting, like I said, we're just going to go over the beginning parts of the plan. The first part, and I'll still be working to bring my screen up, but the beginning of the plan we have is what's called the executive summary, which is when we have the plan, you'll be able to kind of go through it, and we'll go through what's called a 30-day review period. So after we're done developing the plan, there'll be 30 days for you and all the citizens to kind of go over and read the plan. They'll talk about the distribution and the methodology of how we decided about how the funds will be allocated. So what you'll see in the beginning is an executive summary of the plan, which is a review of the previous 5-year plan and how closely the previous 5 years' actions matched up with the goals of the previous 5-year plan. Secondly, what we'll go through is what's called the stakeholder engagement, which is something that we think is very important. The stakeholder engagement is more or less the consultant and the city reaching out to various stakeholders. These are, of course, people who have a lot of expertise in the subjects of housing and social science. And what we're doing is we're gathering their opinions and their feedbacks and their inputs in order to help develop the plan. I personally think this is probably the most crucial part of the plan because despite all the number crunching and data digging we do, what we generally find is that the citizens and the stakeholders know what's best for the city. Most time what we find is that the numbers we come up with and whatever assessment and analyzation we use, generally it will come back to what we find with the stakeholders. One of the part that's actually available right now is the online survey. It's an anonymous survey that we allow for all the citizens go on and to give their inputs about certain housing and occupational questions. What we're just trying to do is to give them an outlet for inputs to basically for the policies that we develop for the con plan. I always say this when it comes to all these inputs, whether it's from stakeholders, public engagement, workshops. I always tell anyone that your inputs do help shape policy. We can't promise anything. We can't promise that whatever's offered is going to be automatically adopted into the plan, but here's your chance. This is your opportunity to say what you need to say. If you have any grievances or anything inside that you've always wanted to say about the housing environment, this is it. This is your time. So we make this available for the citizens and naturally for the city council, anyone who wants to participate. Another crucial part of the inputs is what we call workshops. Now, we'll actually have a workshop about a week from today, I think maybe a week from Wednesday. And this is when we gather all the stakeholders together. And basically, since they have expertise, we more or less just kind of throw a topic that the consolidated plan does cover. We throw a topic on the floor and we basically let everyone just kind of go after and discuss that topic amongst each other. In my experience, it's been a very effective way of dealing with policy. You generally have situations where they'll just kind of feed on themselves. They'll have one good idea and it'll become contagious until basically we'll come up with a solution or at least a viable, actionable plan that we can put into one of the action plan or strategic plan. At least, like I said, this is all still part of the data gathering part. And of course, this is one of the more crucial plans that is mandatory to receive CDBG funding is what we're doing now, the public engagement. HUD ensures that we have at least two public engagements per consolidated planning process, the consulting period, and this is one of them where we develop where we present to the city, to the council, and we allow for some feedbacks. Like I said, this is the first one of two. The next part of the plan, and like I said, I really would have like my visuals with this, is what we call the needs assessment. The needs assessment is more or less how it sounds. What we're doing is after we start gathering the data, we assess need to it. Which one of these, out of all the inputs we get from data and from a kind of a comprehensive view of the inputs, which needs are the most pertinent, and which needs can we actually use the funding to resolve? The CDBG funding really only has a few functions that actually can go to resolve, that being housing, public service. We put homelessness in there, but that typically comes under housing, business, or economic development. And now, I know these terms are pretty broad, and they can be, and the HUD does allow some flexibility on how the funds are allocated within that scope, within those guises. Also, you can commingle funds, meaning if you have funds from your home investment or you have home ARP, you can use those funds with CDBG funding to accomplish the overall goal of whatever the city's agenda is at that time. So the needs assessment goes in after we, like I said, gathered all the information and done an assessment of basically, what housing issues are most pertinent, what economic development issues can we actually use the funds for, what public service issues can, after we've kind of looked over some of our information, we can actually go and meet whatever the city's initiatives are. Our next part of the plan is called the market analysis. This is more or less what it says. Now, the market analysis is interesting because most of the market analysis, what you'll see is they're usually just kind of measuring home valuation and how it compares to the previous 5 years or the previous 5 years, basically, probably for maybe the last few decades. And of course, today I'm not really here to give you what we found so far, but of course, I'm just going to throw this out right now. There's been an increase in housing, and don't be alarmed because we're seeing this from coast to coast in drastic measures. And of course, the whole point of the plan is to see what we can do to mitigate some of the effects of this increase in valuation. The strategic plan is the part of the plan where it gets a little bit fuzzy because the strategic plan is a 5-year study, a 5-year more or less projection. Now, in my experience, most cities, even though they have an outlook for 5 years, it's still very hard to calculate what exactly the city's initiatives will be in 5 years and exactly how these funds can affect something. These goals are typically kind of broad. We're not looking for specifics. We're looking more or less for an objective goal, maybe somewhere, that the city wants to go in a certain direction. However, it doesn't have to be something that we would call actionable, at least not in the immediate future. Now, I would say this is, I hate to speak on behalf of HUD, but speaking to HUD multiple times, I would say what they're really looking for is your action plan, which is the last part of the plan. The action plan is the breakdown of the 5-year goals and how they will be instituted the next following year. This is what we're actually doing this for. All the calculations, all the inputs, all the assessments are to sit down and to write out the next year's goals and I know everybody's familiar with the action plan, but I'm just talking about them guys of the consolidated plan, how the plan could benefit the city for the next year. What is something practical and actionable that we could put down that can go with the city's initiatives? Naturally, we're only talking about a limited amount of funds. We're talking about finite resources. So what we're looking for is something that is feasible, but still deals with the most pertinent situations that we find within the city of Goldsboro. I can honestly say probably most of you are aware of what these situations are. And as Chris has already said, the funds have, thank God, been made available. So at least we know now that will be something we'll be able to do. But it's our responsibility to kind of at least put a dent in what these issues are. Of course, we're not naive to believe that the funds, like I said, in our finite state, that we'll be able to deal with a lot of these issues. And we know that a lot of times they go beyond one plan to the next. Typically, what we see in our process is when reviewing the previous plans, we see the same goals carried over from one plan to the next. And that's a typical thing to do because a lot of times these issues outlast 5 years. It's fine. It's just part of the process. But we're looking for something more or less. We're trying to take one bite out of these issues at a time. Just do as much as we can with the limited resources we can, but ultimately be very effective and be very efficient. So since we got in, I don't know why I couldn't bring in my plan, but more or less that's kind of what we're doing. We're at the beginning stages of this. We're pretty active, and in a few weeks we'll be done. We'll have our second meeting where we'll go over the results, kind of go and show you what the numbers say and what the numbers say we should use the funds for. At that point, everyone gets their contribution. They can say, well, I don't think this is very feasible. I think this, naturally there could be objections, and that's the whole point, to be accountable to the city. So with that being said, I'm opening up to any questions. I'm sorry that it couldn't come up, but I'm opening up to any questions. Please ask whatever you need to.
And Mr. Wright, full disclosure, we don't have any materials on our side either. Just kind of the nature of the way this one was structured. We were going to be getting it, from you and kind of in real time. So, Mr. Livingston, Ms. Fuller, Mr. Wright, how would y'all feel? Because we noticed this to kick off the public hearing.
I think it's 4-page presentation.
Yes, that was the one that Ms. Fuller gave, but we don't have his materials.
But I think, did you get that from him?
Oh, it is? It's the same one? Oh, okay. Well, in that case,
great.
Just open the public hearing, Mayor.
Okay. Well, in that case, we'll open the public hearing. This one, there's going to be multiple opportunities for public input, because at this point, I know there's still a lot more questions than there are true comments or true public feedback. But we will open the public hearing. Mr. Livingston, Ms. Will, is the public hearing going to close this evening, or does it remain open for the duration of the project?
I believe we take one tonight, and if we
then we
get
come
other
back.
public input later.
Is that correct?
in the
All right,
process.
perfect. All right, so with that, I just wanted to make sure that I had my procedure right after we talked about it on Wednesday. So with that, item 5.1, the public hearing for the draft of FY 25-29 consolidated plan and the FY 25-26 annual action plan is hereby open. Are there anyone to come forward and speak, or are there any questions from council for either Ms. Fuller or Mr. Wright? Let's have a second call. Are there any questions or any comments? All right, third and final call. And I realize there's a lot more, don't even really know what questions to ask, and that's completely reasonable. This is the beginning of a process. But this final call, public hearing for the draft FY 25-29 consolidated plan and the FY 26-27 annual action plan. Is there anyone to come forward and speak or with questions?
I do.
Yes, sir, please.
So I have a question when it pertains to under the purpose, when you have it listed under the purpose, affordable housing and neighborhood revitalization. Once it gets to that point where we begin to put boots on the ground and do some of this stuff, are we going to have a list of neighborhoods that we're trying to plan to attack first? Are we going to have a list of priorities? Or how do we establish our priorities going forward when it comes to neighborhood revitalization?
You want to answer that, Crystal? You want to go ahead?
You can jump in, Jason. I can piggyback.
Okay. Well, so part of the CGB plan, matter of fact, is mandatory, is that the funds be used in neighborhoods where at least 51% of the residents are living below the poverty threshold. So the neighborhoods that we're focusing on are neighborhoods that require what we call slum blight neighborhoods. That's a technical term by HUD, where a good percentage of the houses or even commercial properties in the area are technically not up to code, or there's some kind of issue where HUD kind of feels like, well, this particular area needs some improvement. When you actually get the plan, there's certain sections, especially the needs assessment, where you can look at, or it'll be circled or at least mentioned which neighborhoods we're focusing on. So it won't be a situation where you're not aware of which parts of the city we're trying to help. Now, with that being said, CDBG funding is flexible in the sense that it's supposed to benefit neighborhoods where 51% of the residents are below the poverty threshold. However, if the funds are used in a manner that does benefit them even if wherever the funds are allocated, the origin is not in that neighborhood, as long as it benefits those neighborhoods. So let's just say we decided, well, you know what, this street needs some additional work. Well, this street does lead into a neighborhood where a lot of the residents are below that threshold. The funds can be allocated there. But ultimately the goal is to benefit those individuals and those groups that are more or less marginalized, low to moderate income, extremely low income. I'm not going to give you technical terms, but just those groups are really what we're going to focus the vast majority of the funding on.
Thank you.
Sure.
And I was going to say, as it pertains to the city, HUD gives us opportunity zones or census tracts that have the greatest concentration of low to moderate income individuals. But the city looks at those zones, and we do just general benefit for low to moderate income individuals.
Right.
Any other comments or questions at this early stage on this process?
I think it's an important process we're going through because we have some CDBG funds and it's only so much, so we really got to think about how we want to make it the biggest bang for our buck. So I'm interested in seeing what their recommendations are.
And now let me throw this out while we're talking. Some of you, the members of the city council, will probably be contacted by me or Crystal in order to do stakeholder. I would love to talk to all of you if I could, because I want to hear your input. A lot of times you have a little more information, and I want you to contribute. So this is not going to be something that's done in a vacuum. I want as much input. This is your city. These are your funds, and these are your issues to deal with. So naturally, we want your opinion.
Was there anyone else with comments or questions from council or from those in attendance? All right, hearing none, and that being a third call, we'll close the public hearing on 5.1. Ms. Fuller and Mr. Wright, we look forward to y'all's guidance during this process. Absolutely. It is a very important process because this is how you get to leverage other funds that we are able to raise to make impacts in the parts of the city that otherwise have been left behind and have felt marginalized. This is how you do that. This, along with the land use plan that we're going through right now, the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, all of these things happening at this same time is very intentional. It's to be able to try and leverage as much as possible to be able to have as much of an impact as possible. So, Mr. Wright, thank you for your time this evening. Ms. Fuller, we look forward to your leadership. And if there's nothing further, I'll move to the next item.
I'll do that later.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor Kayla, there's no one signed up to speak.
All right. So with that, we'll open the public comment period. You said there is no one that is signed up to speak, so we'll move to the consent agenda. All right, Mr. Livingston, if you would please present the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. Consent agenda consists of routine items that have previously been brought before the City Council or have very little element of controversy to them. So items 7.1 through 7.10 are there for your consideration. I'll be happy to go over any one of them individually if you'd like, or you can choose to vote them all as one item.
There are a lot of items up there, but these are things that have been discussed at previous council meetings or things that are already in the budget. Council, are there any remaining questions? I know we've had this in front of us for a little while, but are there any remaining questions?
Just this award contract for audit service, that's in the budget.
$7,000 for 4 of us.
No questions.
Yep. And actually, since Catherine just walked in, sorry. Item 7.4 in the consent agenda is the award contract for audit services. Is that a budgeted amount, or will some of that have to come out of fund balance? Perfect. Just wanted to make sure. Councilman White, does that answer your question? All right. Council, any other comments, questions on the consent agenda, or do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, or to approve the items under the consent agenda as presented?
I make a motion that we accept and approve for approval the consent agenda as presented by staff.
All right, motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, motion's been made and properly seconded to approve items 7.1 through 7.10 of the consent agenda as presented. Madam Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call?
Mayor
Vote.
Gaylor,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jones,
Yes.
Councilman Boyette,
Yes.
Councilwoman Taylor, Councilwoman Matthews, Councilwoman Weeks,
Yes.
Councilman White.
Yes. All right, all being affirmative, the consent agenda is approved. So with that, we're now moving into some substantial business pieces of the meeting. We have been going at this just under an hour. I always want to make sure that council has opportunities for nature breaks. Would council like to recess for a break now or move after 8.1 and then do a quick recess after that? We're good right now? All right. Then, Mr. Livingston, if you could please get us going on item 8.1.
Slide work, there we go. Let's see. Thank you, Mayor and Council, members of the public. We have been working on the budget since technically when we started our budget retreat and strategic planning retreat back in January. And that helped provide the framework for the proposed budget, which will give a very high-level overview tonight, and then possibly have a work session in the next few weeks before our budget, recommended budget hearing on the 2nd of June. So some of the general information here for the budget is that the manager's recommended budget is approximately $32 million less than the requested budget. There was a lot of cuts that were, having to be made. There's a lot of needs out there. It's a $93 million budget. That's a 0% increase from the current amended adopted budget of $93 million. Discretionary spending was reduced by 52%. The majority of reductions involved capital expenses. They were shifted to future years. Some were eliminated, most were shifted. Majority of the MAG study, which we've talked about before, is recommended for funding, and most capital items and equipment, the high priority ones, were funded. So some of the challenges and goals of the budget, we're trying to meet those high priority department capital needs. Those were things like where we had to have a replacement garbage truck so that we don't, not be able to pick up garbage. Would that be a good thing? Obviously. We had to invest in the city council priorities as identified in the annual budget retreat. We had to consider the adjusting for the high rates of inflation. Okay, someone's got my mic cranked.
He's got you. He's correct.
Okay, and so the other thing was recruitment and retention, because over the several years we've continued to, although we're doing better in this area, we've struggled with recruitment and retention. So the pay and class study and some of the things that were recommended out of that have also helped there. And fund recommended positions as set out in the organizational study will help us achieve more of our objectives that we've been working towards. So generally speaking, budget highlights, our current tax rate is 82.5. We're proposing to reduce that down to 69. It's a 13.5 cent reduction. Our revenue neutral rate is 0.5632. MSD is 0.156, and just for information, interestingly enough, the county's revenue neutral rate is just right where we're at. To help fund some of our road repair, which is one of those areas which we've discussed is a challenge for the city. As years have gone by, we've been unable to, or just have not invested as much as we could in roads. So we've seen some decline in our road quality according to our PC Pavement Condition Rating Index. Water and sewer rate increased 9%. That's to help fund our treatment plant expansion. We've talked about this without being able to accommodate future growth or current growth for that matter as it continues in Goldsboro, which was a good thing to see. We're seeing growth in our area again. We're going to need to start preparing plans for that treatment plant so that we can continue to do economic development projects. We can continue to welcome new businesses into the city and new residential. The MAG study, that was basically a 3% cost of living with some salary adjustments for certain specific positions that were not within market range. 3 new positions were recommended in the MAG study. We're recommending increasing the paving by 1.2 million so we can start getting a little bit better there in that area. The funding in the water and sewer fund is 11.4 million for the water reclamation facility for the design fees. That may end up being a 2-year type of situation. We you know, as far as design goes, it's going to take a little while there, but just something to know to get started in that regard so we can keep that project going. We're looking at the regional merger feasibility study, which we've got a grant to do that right now. Goldsboro is well positioned to be the leader in sewer, and it is so far. Really, this just takes it another step further. And we financed equipment and rolling stock of about 3.8 million. So we're recapitalizing our city with better equipment, newer equipment, more state-of-the-art equipment, so that we can operate more efficiently. And one of the things that I'm really glad of is we didn't use any fund balance, which is a really good step in the right direction, in my opinion. So what the recommended budget does fund, essentially high priority capital needs. It funds top priorities as determined by council. Priority public safety, for example. It funds major capital needs such as the police department requested and a new deputy chief position. We have sort of a flat organization in terms of the police department, and there's really a need for a second person in charge. So the deputy police chief would accomplish that. One of the priorities was community and economic development. So in order to do that, with this study, the budget funds a study for economic development practices. Also, we're funding a community survey to further understand district's needs. We talked about this as it relates to the strategic plan. For years, the city has been benchmarking various services with other cities throughout the state. And we've done this probably 10 years, and we've got a good idea of what our benchmark numbers are. But what we don't really have a good idea as far as what the community's needs are. And so we want to survey our residents, and it's more detailed than surveyed, but it's coming in and really understanding what their needs are so that we can revamp our strategic plan to line up with what the community needs are and sort of direct our resources towards those needs. It's kind of going back to basics in sort of a way, but also it's targeting those dollars to where you really need them. Another one was slum and blight removal. So this budget does add more money into slum and blight removal. It's just an area that we've made some really good strides here lately, but we still need to do more, particularly in those low to moderate income areas, and also in the areas where we've just kind of things have happened and there's been no kind of motivation that we've had to really do something about it. So we really need to step up and do something about that. So also what it does fund is employee recruitment and retention. Again, the 3% COLA for all employees. It's in line with inflation. And also, tonight you'll see this is where we're looking at a lease for Edgewood School property for the new community recreation facility to replace Herman Park. As you know, this year we'll be tearing down Herman Park, and the timing's pretty good. We got a grant for that, and we can move all those resources over to Edgewood Park and do the programming there, or Edgewood School.
The center, not the whole park.
That's correct.
All right.
Yeah. We still love Herman Park.
Yeah.
We've got the ability to use a nice facility there to grow and expand upon our programming, and all our employees, 6 of them are all crammed into one small house, and they've been really nice about not complaining too loudly about their accommodations, but they'll be happy to get into something where they can do more with what they've got and make some good things happen. So what is not funded? Again, we had to make a lot of cuts with the capital needs, so we've repositioned those. There's no merit pay, no employee bonus. Although there was a couple positions recommended in the org study, there were several general fund positions that were recommended or asked for by departments. Those were not included in the budget. There's only one that was included, and that's being funded by stormwater fees to manage our stormwater program from the operational, I'm not the operational side, but from the stormwater management programming side. No increase in operational costs. We're just absorbing that even with inflation. It's going to be a challenge, but you know, these departments work as hard as they can very efficiently. But we'd asked them to make some additional cuts, and they reduced it down by over $1 million. So, with executive summary, again, total budget's $93.18 million, 32 million below department requests. The general fund is up from 85.84, that was the adopted last year, to about the 93 million. No fund balance being used. Service levels to remain stable, so we're not growing any of our services. We're not really reducing any. The request of City Council, we weren't asked to do that, so we're keeping things the same. Employee retention's a big deal, and you can see that that's up there as a priority. That's what the City Council wanted to see. Infrastructure, 1.2 million additional street paving, 11.4 for the water reclamation facility design. That'll be a multi-year design project, and 3.8 million for vehicle rolling stock. Revenue highlights: the property tax was reduced again from 82.5 to 69. Revenue neutral is 56.32. Utility rates, 9% increase in water and sewer. Vehicle tax increase from $10 to $30 a vehicle. Again, the budget restraints were flat revenues. The League of Municipalities, when they published their guidance on revenues, a lot of them were flat. So it's not one of those years where we're able to see 7-8% growth in sales tax. It'll probably be 1 or 2%. So, limited operational growth, focus on funding, public safety, and salary adjustments is what I would, and recapitalizing thing is pretty much what the gist of this budget is. The next few slides, I'm going to ask Catherine to come up and kind of give you more of a detailed overview on the numbers. Does anybody have questions for me?
Council, any comments for Mr. Livingston so far? Obviously, there's going to be plenty of time to ask questions. All right.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. Thank you for having me this evening. The slide that we're at now provides you kind of a picture slice overview of the recommended budget that Matt just addressed, so that you can see proportionally, the general fund occupies about 66% of that space. The utility fund operates about 29%. So that is the majority of this $93 million budget. From an expenditure standpoint, when we consolidate all those expenditures in the $93 million, 49% is salary and benefits, 27% is operating. So you're talking about like 76, 77%, it's all rounded, in total budget dollars out of that $93 million. When you look at what capital, debt, and shared services are, it's just a very, very small percent. We generally cannot affect transfers and shared services or debt. And we definitely can't affect debt because debt is required by statute, has to be budgeted, so it's not an area that we can really cut in. Our capital outlay does have discretion in it that we can cut those items, but as Matt alluded to, when you cut those items, you defer that maintenance, and it becomes a bigger problem as the years go by, as we've seen in a lot of our infrastructure and our equipment. So really where we have leeway as far as cutting the budget would be in the operating expenditures and in the salaries and benefits. Now, when you do cuts in either one, we have to remember operationally it's going to have an effect. So, can you cut office supplies? Can you cut safety shoes? Absolutely you can do that. But when you're looking at the large cuts, you're talking about service delivery effects. So what services are you willing to start to cut in order to work on that budget number to get those expenditures down? So it's a delicate balance when you look at what is my tax rate going to be to bring in that revenue, how can you balance that revenue coming in, but then cutting your expenditures to meet that need to come to that perfect balance where revenues equal expenditures, which is the manager's job. That is his job to deliver a balanced budget to the council. Okay, so just as far as revenues go, in the general fund, the majority of our tax revenues come from property tax. Other revenues, other agency revenues takes up about 30% of that number. So roughly about 75% of the money that comes in to fund the general fund, that 60-some million, comes from property taxes and other agency revenues. Now, other agency revenues is basically the state of North Carolina that delivers the sales tax to the city monthly, utility franchise tax quarterly, and one of the largest basically restricted revenues that comes in is the Powell bill, which is about $1 million or so. So when we look at that 18.2 million, about $1 million's Powell bill, the vast majority of that, about 12 million or so, is sales tax that's coming in. Okay, so how the council affects sales tax is by bringing people and businesses and activity where people spend money. That's how we get a higher distribution in the sales tax. So all the other revenues, for example, like capital returns, that is primarily debt that the city will be taking. It's considered a revenue. And the shared services, it's the payback from the utility fund and the stormwater fund it's basically management services provided because the general fund houses all the general government. So the council, the manager, IT, HR, finance, engineering, those things, and these other funds help share in those costs, okay? So that's actually an internal charge that the general fund gets paid back. So there's not a lot of effect. We can have that number is fairly fixed the way that it's calculated. So the biggest opportunity that the council has to affect, other than the sales tax, to affect the revenues that are brought into the city to help pay for this $66 million general fund budget is in the property tax. I mean, because that's the biggest source of the revenue that we have. Okay. So we talk a lot about what is a penny worth. And in the graph that's presented here, in the far right column where it's the highest, it says 386,000. That is the calculated number that I came up with, that is what a penny is worth based on the estimates that were provided to me by the Wayne County Tax Office on their revaluation process. So you can see in the prior year, our valuation was around $264,000. Now, these are gross numbers. These aren't net. You have to remember, we also have to pay fees back to the county, so these are gross numbers. But we did have a substantial increase, and we know from the county, average-wise, it was somewhere in the 40%. I don't know that it went to 50%, that we had an increase. So from the time of revaluation in 2019, which was effective, I think, in our fiscal 20, we've had that much of an increase in the property values. And the thing I think for me it's important to remember is we did have some modest property tax increases, a couple, I mean, other than last year was significant, but we did not increase the property taxes every year, although the sales ratio kept going down, 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 which meant it was revenue that we were not capturing, which means that we were, to me, you were kind of in the hole, you know, kind of behind as far as collecting revenue. So this year we've got this big catch up where they've done the revaluation ahead of the 8-year, so we're at a 6-year revaluation because the sales ratio had dropped that far down. And so that penny now is worth $386,000. So it's just a visual for the council to see the trend of how that penny, because, you know, we talk tax rates, and tax rates affected by value, but I think it does help to know what that penny is worth. Okay, and then I did a slide about the dollar impact of revenue neutral on the proposed property tax rate. So in that middle column that says FY26 revenue neutral, that is the revenue neutral rate that I came up with, that I calculated based on the Wayne County property tax numbers. And then the next column is the proposed 69-cent increase. And what I did was I Googled what is the average taxable home value in the city of Goldsboro. So, I mean, this information, Alan Lumpkin and I have talked about it. He doesn't have a way to pull that information. So about the best I can do is to Google, okay, because I don't have access to their system. And then I also pulled median home values sold from Realtor.com and Zillow.com. And so I've done those, put those values in there, and then calculated what the tax would be. So in that far right column where it says net increase, so for example, if the average taxable home value in the city of Goldsboro is $78,000, it would result in a $100 per year increase for that homeowner. So for those other values, for the Realtor.com and the Zillow figures, you're talking about an increase on a $269,000 house of $341. $191,000 house, $242. And then I did a value of $100,000 because we all can work with ones. You know, it helps us because we can multiply things out. So a house that's worth $100,000 would see an increase of about $127 a year, which I know for a lot of people that is a lot of money. I did break this down to annual, monthly, and daily using the average home value of the $78,500, so that $100 annual increase amounts to an increase of $8.29 per month, or daily 27 cents per day. So in addition to the change in the property tax rate, there is a vehicle tax fee increase that is proposed from $10 to $30. And this helps fund approximately, I believe it was $300,000 of the $1.2 million in paving that we proposed. So we're proposing $900,000 is coming from general fund property taxes, and then $300,000 is coming from the additional tag fee. In Public Works Solid Waste, they had some changes they wanted to make to their dumpster fees, and it mainly affects our commercial customers. It wasn't, to me, it wasn't enough. I didn't even adjust the revenues in the general fund for the solid waste fees. But I did want to point that out to you. Okay. Matt may have to help me some on the water and sewer stuff. So we've been working with Stantec, and they've helped us prepare these slides. This shows the increase of what we have currently for water and sewer rates, and the proposed if the 9% rate increase is approved. And then this slide is a visual representation of the average bill, bill being somewhat a little bit under the $90. With a 9% increase, it raises up to about $89. And we have 8 other comparables that we have here. You know, Johnston County, of course, being the highest of all of them. So, you know, we're trying to look and say, so we're a little bit higher than our peers in this comparison model. And then this slide that David helped us for.
Catherine.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
That previous slide, that is not even taking in consideration that they have not did their budgets, and that is just what they've got going on right now. That's not taking in consideration their new budget numbers.
Are you talking about the 9%?
Yes, ma'am. I'm looking at where Goldsboro, where in comparison with the other municipalities.
Oh, I understand what you're saying.
Just
yes,
now, that's not even taking consideration that
that they could possibly.
Yes, ma'am.
You're correct in that. Yes, ma'am. And our next slide is Stantec. We work with them to talk about doing this tiered rate, lifeline rate that David Hyder mentioned at the council retreat. We did attempt that, and unfortunately our current billing system is not capable of handling that tiered rate structure. So we do have included in the budget monies to help us do a software hardware conversion that we would like to do, so that it would enable us, because I think the biggest takeaway, it's hard to read, the slide is very small, But on the very far right, where he's got the last two columns where it says FY26 bill tiers and the difference. So if it was a 9% across the board, it's a 9%, which you see in the first, second, third, fourth column. Okay, but on the tiered system, a person that uses 2,000 gallons or less would have only experienced a 2% increase in their rates instead of the 9%. And you can see that kind of goes up to where if you use more than 10,000, you would have actually seen a 9.9%. So we are hopeful that we can get the implementation funds to be able to do the conversion, so that possibly in the next fiscal year we have that ability to help those using that lower or that tier system to help those that don't use as much water.
Hey, Ms. Catherine.
Yes, sir.
So with our utilities rate, or when we're going up to 9%, does that include all our customers, those who rely on our system for water?
Or that is inside and outside.
So Walnut Creek.
Because all of them are subject to a written agreement, which is subject to our rates.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I did have some concern about the 9% increase, and so you're saying, because I want to know what we can do to help our constituents. That I know that as a council, in the past, we hadn't gone up, and then now we're going up, and now we're talking about a 9%, and I'm extremely concerned about that. While I really like the budget, and I do understand why we're not doing the general fund, you know, why that looks good for not pulling, you know, from a general fund. But is this system, it will only be in effect next year? Is that what you're saying? Not what year, if we were able to use
to
this?
Do the tier system?
Yes.
The soonest we could even think about it, it's going to be in 26, 27. So for the year that we're proposing, FY 25, 26, we can't do a tiered system. We're just not able to make that work.
Is it, may I follow up on that?
Yes,
and then I'm going to
sure.
give it right back to you. How, if the funds are put in the budget to be able to change the system over, the hardware and the software, do you think you could have it done by December or January?
Of this year? No.
So
No, sir. They've already told us that it is at least a 9-month process.
Okay.
And the only thing about this is we have to actually change not just utility billing. This is the entire receivables and collection system. So it's actually probably going to be more of like a 12 to 16 month process, you know, if things go smoothly, and I hope they do. So.
Any other comments or questions for Catherine at this particular point?
I do have questions of it. She went past it already, so I was just gonna rock until she came back. Okay, I'm concerned with the vehicle tag fee increase, $10 to $30, not because it's $10 to $30, but because the POW bill, which really actually sends money down here for us to fix our roads. And we have been receiving that bill for quite a while now, but not using it for roads mainly. We've been using it within the constraints of what it said we can use it for. But I think that we need to really look at how we can use that fund for what it was really intended for, so we don't have to continue to increase in other places. And I do know the concern of, because we're using it for salaries for some of the people who are maintaining our roads, that we will have to pick it up in general fund balance. But at some point, we're going to have to turn the page and get back to what it was intended for, so we can maintain our roads. That's my concern with that, and I do want to get that in the atmosphere, because that bill is really made so that municipalities can maintain their roads.
By any chance, did you have the slide that shows the vehicle tag fees for other municipalities, where it shows that with the increase we would be right there in comparison with everybody around?
I didn't. The assistant manager and I had conversations about that, and I did not have the capacity to be able to pull that together. I can ask him if he can help me with that, just to, you know, if that's his concern.
Just my last thing, and
Go for it. Yes, sir.
Because in this year, in the Powell bill, when I looked at it today, we're asking, the Powell bill will give us $1.2 million this year, and then we're asking for $1.2 million in paving. So if we were, if we could figure it out or have done it before, then we would be right at where we needed to actually begin to do some actual projects. So I just ask that we really, as a council, look at that.
And we can always allocate, so we, Mr. White and I talked a little bit this afternoon about Powell bill expenditures. So what we've done in the past is we've always spent about double whatever our Powell bill allocation is. So if our allocation is 1.1 million, we spent, I think this in 24, like 1.9 million, 8, 9 million, somewhere in that range. And we allocated it to paving. We allocated it to salaries, benefits, and materials like asphalt and concrete, about 400 and some thousand. And then we also allocated debt service that we paid on the street bonds that we took back in 2018 of about 440 some thousand. So actually, as I said, we can always say when we do our Powell bill report, because this year, if the council allows the 1.2 million in the paving, we will probably have closer to $3 million in eligible Powell bill expenditures. And what we would put on the report, and I'll be honest, if we're doing paving, I would put paving. We have about 12.5 categories that we are allowed to consider as Powell bill eligible expenditures. It is one of the programs that the auditors audit every single year. I promise you that is always done. But we will have more than enough Powell bill expenditures that if we want to say we want to use that, and it's not general fund money, it is Powell bill money that's being used, we absolutely will do that.
Yes, sir.
Just a couple of comments to piggyback on Councilman White's concern and remarks. Just a couple of things related to the Powell bill. I know I had mentioned months ago whenever I was selected to serve on the Legislative Policy Committee for the League of Municipalities to represent Goldsboro. Early on as this, for this biennium, when the committee was establishing priorities, one of the first and early priorities that seemed to be at the very top of the list was to ask the legislature to please look at the way that Powell bill funding is structured, because we're not only Goldsboro, but every municipality is not getting nowhere close to what they need. And as we all know, with inflation, that dollar, and I do know from a DOT standpoint, if memory serves me correct, just in the last couple of years, a dollar is now 61 cents when it comes to that sort of work. So I still I'm sort of a little upset that one did not make it through all the way to the finish line, and so I'm optimistic that maybe somehow or another we can get the General Assembly's attention to adjust that. And I'd also point out that the 1.2 that we're talking about generating, I just want to point out and to remind everybody that the consultant told us it was going to take $3.5 million a year just to stop from pedaling backwards. So that made me think, so the 1.2 it's not 1.2, it's actually, when you put it all together, it's, if we keep that 1.2, it's closer to 3. So if we figured out a way to rearrange the funds, I'm all for that, and I'm okay with if we figured out a way to say, well, we don't want to spend that money on a salary, we want to spend it on asphalt. But to bear in mind that if we figured out how to save $1 there, we need to spend it, not, because we're falling short of where we need to be at to even stop from pedaling backwards.
That's great.
And as I've said, that paving the streets is something that's a needle moving thing that our taxpayers and our citizens can see when the paving machine comes down their street and go, that's where part of my tax money is being spent at. And I'm happy and proud that we're going to be seriously looking at that, because our streets are in bad shape, as we know from that consultant's report. So.
Let's follow up with one question. All of the salaries, any time that we've used Powell bill funds for salaries, it's salaries for the folks that are actually doing the street repairs, right?
That is correct. So when Rick's staff is coding their timesheets, they use a special code called PB. And so it separates out from all those other, so if a streets person is working but they're not doing Powell bill, it's not coded like that. And like I said, we get audited on that, so they check to make sure that if that's what we said we did, that's what we actually did.
But it is time spent doing a road repair.
Specifically Powell bill eligible, and that's one of the things that we have to answer when we do the audit. There's a really long, a lot of long questionnaires, but there's a long Powell bill questionnaire that both Rick and I have to answer to, and we have to say that we understand what the Powell bill eligibility is. So he has to be able to discern what those activities are so that we don't spend the money on inappropriate expenditures. Okay.
But it's the people to put the asphalt down. It's not just general managerial stuff. It is the
absolutely. It is direct cost for the Powell bill program.
Yes, sir.
Just follow up on that. I'm sorry I hit the mic. So is that customary? Do our peers do that, taking the Powell bill money and supplementing payroll and so forth?
Unfortunately, it is. It's just because when you start looking at the cost per projects, you can't really do the projects unless you try to, build up some money over. You can bank it for 5 years, but it's more efficient to actually use it in that regard. But I'd rather be able to have another way to pay for people and be able to bank some more money eventually.
Well,
got a lot of repairs that we need to do.
Go ahead.
Well, my next question is, just to piggyback off what is customary, but when we hired because they're actually our staff that's doing the work, right?
Forced labor.
Right, and then it's also our equipment that they're using.
Correct.
Right, so at what point when we hired them did we switch from actually having them on the payroll to using the Powell bill for salaries?
They're on our payroll.
They are.
Well, we
but
using
you're talking
the
about the funding,
right?
how you're
Exactly.
paying for it.
Exactly.
And you and I talked about that
Exactly.
today.
But I just wanted to put that in there because nobody knows. I got that piece.
Yeah.
But what I am saying is at some point it wasn't that way. And I do know, like you said, we need to find a way ahead to actually, use the funds for paving so we can get to the 3 million threshold so we won't pedal backwards. And I think it's better to do it sooner than later because we won't gain any traction if we don't.
And to continue on that thought process, that's why I asked what our peers were doing, because under those circumstances, if we're in the middle of pay study and things like that and trying to figure out how we're allocating general funds to payroll, now, if there was something that needed to be fixed, now would be a good time to address it while we're unpackaging all the other components related to pay.
It's all a matter of how big you want to make the rate and how much general fund is out there. Let's keep. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
If we switch it back to the general fund, you're looking at about 3 pennies additional on the property tax rate. So that's the difference there.
$1 million basically.
Let's, for the sake of continuing the presentation, let's keep going through our slides. There's still got to be a lot of discussion, so I'm certainly not trying to limit that, but I just want to be able to continue the presentation.
So we're going to go through very quickly a couple of items, high level. Proposed debt service, Matt's already alluded to this. General fund, the debt service we're proposed about $3.4 million, and that's rolling stock and equipment. Stormwater fund, same thing, it's about $377,000, and in the utility fund, the design fees are $11.4 million that we anticipate spending that at the beginning of the fiscal year. The debt service is about $931,000. And as far as revenue, the additional revenue that the water and sewer rates will bring on board, this will, just the debt service for half a year will take up about 80% of that 9% rate increase. So this is not even a full year of debt service. And so the council, you know, I know you all understand how important that water reclamation facility expansion is for the city of Goldsboro. So that's why the rate increases are necessary. And that's why when David Hyder spoke to you all in January, it's important to recognize that, because take that number and multiply it by 10, because we're talking about like $120 million. So it's going to take a lot just to pay the debt service. So again, we're not even, the rate increase, I know it's significant, but it's only going to take care of about 80% of that payment just on the design fee. So just keep that in mind. So there is reasoning behind needing the rate increase, so that we can make these things happen. So I just wanted to point that out too as well. All right. So talking about positions, the 3 positions that the manager recommended, the first 2 are in the general fund. The third one is actually paid out of the stormwater fund. Capital request, Matt's already talked about this. We started out with...
Ms. Gwen, if you don't mind, get back one slide.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
So in the MAG study, I understand there were some positions that needed to be added, or they suggested that we add, and I'm good with adding them. But my suggestion is if we're going to implement the MAG study, one, they said that we had 3 years to phase this in for it to be legitimate and still valid as a study. But 2 is, I think that we should start at the lower end instead of at the higher end with the assistant city manager. And we start with fixing the pay raises at the bottom with our sanitation workers and those people, and then phasing it in as we get better financially with our assistant city manager position. I think that's the way that we can kind of cut costs and also effectively give pay raises to some of our employees that really need it.
Council, any other comments on this slide right now? All right, Ms. Gwen.
And so on the capital request, we started with department request of about 39 million, and that was cut down to about $9.2 million. I think my next slide is just about next steps. So I just wanted to say, for the public's sake, the notification of the publication of the budget, which happened on May the 5th, and the public hearing was advertised in Wayne Week on May the 4th. We sent notification to our large industrial customers regarding the proposed rate change on May the 6th, as required by their contracts, if they had one. The public hearing is scheduled for Monday, June 2nd, here in the council chambers at 5:30 p.m. And then I'll leave it up to the council to discuss any additional budget work sessions. And then we would like to present recommendation of the adoption of the budget at the June 16th meeting. We do have until the 30th at midnight to adopt the budget. I'm not exactly sure, Mayor, if you're going to...
I won't be here at midnight on the 30th,
okay.
If that's what you were going to ask.
No, well, I was just thinking about the session as far as like continuing it, I guess, if we needed to at that point in time. But anyway, that concludes all of my comments. I turn that back over to the manager and the mayor.
So, council, we've heard the manager's recommended budget. Actually, Mr. Livingston, did you have any follow-up comments before
Well, I think because we had a very long agenda tonight, and that I really feel like we need a budget work session, but I'll leave that up to the city council and to kind of, I don't want to have to go to the public hearing without this board feeling like they're well-versed in what the budget's proposing and how they feel about it.
So with that, council, would this council be interested in, at this point, trying to schedule one-on-ones with Mr. Livingston and Ms. Gwen and trying to let each person go through and get their questions answered and their recommendations heard? Or do we want to try to squeeze in a work session prior to the June 2nd public hearing? Or are we comfortable having a budget work session after the public hearing? And then between now and then, each council member reaching out to Ms. Gwen and Mr. Livingston individually to be able to schedule time. What's the desire of council?
I'm okay with the individual approach personally. I'll do whatever the majority wants to do, but that worked well for me last year to go and sit down with my sticky notes in the book and ask questions, and then I felt like I was prepared from there. So I'm okay with that, but I'll do whatever the majority feels is best.
If hearing no major outcry for a work session between now and June 2nd, and obviously if anyone changes their mind, reach out to me. We'll figure something out. But council members, we've gotten the high level overview, a little bit brevity for sure, but there's a lot to this budget. I know Mr. Livingston and Ms. Gwen would be happy to sit down with every council member individually or in pairs or whatever you want to do, as long as it's less than 4, and have a conversation about what's in it and go line by line. So if that's okay, then we'll move forward with that, and then after the public hearing, we'll have a conversation about if we want to do an additional work session. All right?
I did want to say, Mayor, that I wanted to thank you, the Budget Committee,
A lot
for
of work.
meeting individually and putting all the time and effort into the process so far.
So council, thank you. With that, for 8.1, again, this is our official starting spot. And so now we will move forward and get questions answered, and then we'll have the public hearing on June 2nd. That is our next council meeting, right? Seems like a long time away to be our next council meeting. All right, so now, council, we've been at this for an hour and 40 minutes, and so we are going to take a quick 5-minute recess. We will reconvene at 7:15 to continue with section 9 of our agenda. We stand in recess until 7:15. 15, we'll come back to order and begin with section 9 of our agenda. So item 9.1, believe we have a piece of business on our Juneteenth Unity and Heritage Festival, and I know we have a presenter to come forward as well. Mr. Livingston, is there anything you'd like to say, or do we just roll straight to KT?
We've set aside money in the budget for this past year, so it's there, and we're looking forward to her presentation.
There we go. Perfect. Ms. Taylor, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good evening, Mayor Gaylor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Karyana Taylor. A lot of you may know me as KT from 92.7 JM's Curtis Media Group, and also the Juneteenth Festival. So we've been doing the festival. This will be the 5th year. So we started in 2019, and then we moved it downtown. But this year it's a little different. It's rebranded to the Juneteenth Unity and Heritage Festival, formerly known as the Jams Out Juneteenth Festival. So I'm just here to formally, invite you and request also some continued partnership with the city for some support. So as you know, Juneteenth marks that pivotal moment in American history, pretty much the final enforcement of the Emancipation Proclamation in 1865. And of course it is a national initiative, but I think that, us continuing to do that here in Goldsboro, it just shows that the city will continue to push this initiative through unity and culture and education. So again, over the past few years, you can go to the next slide. I'm so sorry. I was trying to use the clicker earlier, but this is kind of new for me with this new MacBook that I got. So I didn't use PowerPoint. I used Keynote. I don't know what that is, but I used it today. But over the past few years, again, the festival has been a little different. So we're looking at doing it this year from 12 to 6 p.m. right at the hub. Last year, and I think the previous 2 years, we've done it 3 to 8. So this year, trying to move it just a little bit to make it a little bit more family friendly. Typically some of our senior citizens, they like to come out a little earlier in the day. So we're trying to cater to them. But throughout the day, typically is for, vendors to come, for them to be able to sell, educate throughout the day, and also to have not just vendors, but entertainment as well. You go to the next slide, please. These are just a few pictures. You may see some familiar faces, a few pictures over the years. Again, partnering with Curtis Media Group, 92.7 Jams has led this the past few festivals, and we've been very grateful. I'm also going to ask Miss Lisa Govan from Curtis Media to step up here with me for just a second, if you don't mind. Who is also our sales manager at Curtis Media. So this year, tonight, while I'm here, is to formally request 3 key things: a waiver of the fees of the hub, also a waiver of the street closure fees, and a contribution of $3,000. That is where Curtis Media Group will be coming in this year. Previously, it's like an oversight or overhead thing for Curtis Media Group. This year, still sort of kind of continuing that same partnership, but it will be more so Curtis Media or us being the venue sponsor, along with being like a heritage sponsor. If you could go to the next slide, please. I'm not a salesperson, so it's kind of easier for Lisa to talk just a little bit, but these are just some things that I think would best benefit the city, continue that partnership, partnering as the venue sponsor, because honestly, that's what the city has been, the previous years, also doing that monetary contribution and waiving the fees. If you could go to the next slide, please. And this is what Lisa will come in at.
Oh, you want me to go?
Yes, please.
Okay. So with the budget that KT has requested from the city of Goldsboro, I have a breakdown here. So you'd receive 30 days of clickable display ads on Goldsboro Daily News. 3 sizes will populate the desktop, mobiles, tablets, and all of those ads will redirect the users to the Facebook page for the website that KT is having designed, or the Facebook site, whichever is most appropriate and has the most information. We will design those ads for free. There's no charge for doing that. On the radio, we will have 80 ads that will run between the hours 6 a.m. 7 p.m. Monday through Sunday over 4 weeks. 60 ads that run between the hours 7 p.m. and midnight.
48 that run between the hours of 12 midnight and 6 a.m. And then 20 60-second ads during KT's show, because this is her festival, she knows what to talk about. So during those 60-second live read ads, she's just continuing to invite people to come to the festival, and she's doing it in a live mode. So the total investment is $2,997. It's 208 radio ads over 4 weeks and 30 days on Goldsboro Daily News. And the city of Goldsboro, that's for the city of Goldsboro, North Carolina, advertising, providing funding for her event. So previously, I just want to reiterate, because I think there has been a little bit of confusion. This started as KT's idea in 2018, and she wanted us as Curtis Media to make this an event. But she's grown the brand through 92.7 Jams and through the help of our radio stations to where it's not uncommon for a DJ to want to make their own brand. And so now she's designed this into her own nonprofit. She's currently working on the paperwork. We want to support her, but it is not a Curtis Media event. We are helping her. She's got airways to talk about it, but the radio ads that need to rotate on the ads, those have to be funded.
Next slide, please. And so this is just sort of kind of going back over what we've done previously and what I'm asking. Again, the usage of the hub, which will provide the event space for the event, electrical outlets, using the power supply for that day, police coverage, fire department, who has done honor guard for a couple of the years. As well. Also trash service, Center Street closure from Chestnut to Spruce for the day of the event, and the land use as well. Next slide, please. And these are just a few of the features that we've had in the past and some that we are also doing this year. This year, the Arts Council of Wayne County is also going to be partnering with us. Wayne County Department of Health and Human Services will be partnering with us as well. They have an initiative trying to push for more foster care and helping out the kids in our community. Also, the Paramount Theater, last year we were supposed to have the famed songwriter Alexander Starr come. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it, but he said that if he was able to do this event, he will come back, and so he will be back on that date. So it will, the Paramount has made that in honor of the Juneteenth Unity and Heritage Festival, a free concert for the community. So directly after the festival, we're going to continue to promote people to go over to the Paramount Theater so they can enjoy that free concert and get out of that heat. And then the flow of events, of course, inviting our dignitaries. Previous years we've had musical artists, and we will have some this year as well, dance groups, the Divine Nine, and a few others as well. So it's going to be the same exact flow that it has always been. It's just a different name. Honestly, it's just operating under different operations and a different name. Next slide, please. And that ends my presentation.
So, Ms. Taylor, the request, just to summarize, is to have the street closure fee waived, right? And that's just that one side of Center Street, that one block, right? It's the same. You had that last year too, right?
Yes, it's from that circle, from the circle of Chestnut and Center down
just on that
to,
one side.
yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then there would be you're requesting a waiver of the rental fee for the hub space, right? And then you're requesting an allocation of $3,000 that would cover the ads.
Yes,
right?
and I do want to make it known that this is under the venue sponsor. Everything has gone to. I'm so sorry, Captain Powers, and so it will be listed. It is listed under Curtis Media Group as our venue sponsor.
Does that with that funding, does that leave you in a deficit any?
No, because it takes care of the advertisement part. So it doesn't leave me in a deficit at all.
And Mr. Livingston, you alluded earlier that this was already budgeted as. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. We have budgeted monies for that $3,000 for, in kind. Okay. Not in kind. I'm sorry. This type of.
For this event, right?
Yes,
through community relations.
Yes.
Zero. All right. Perfect. So then, council, any other comments, questions before I figure out the pragmatics of how to get a resolution or a motion on the table?
Hey, just to make clear,
Yes, sir.
when she asked for street closure, it's for both sides.
No, it's one.
Yes, it's that we have requested from Center Street, Chestnut, that circle, down to Center Street in Spruce.
Right, both sides.
Yes,
right.
both sides of
That's
it.
what I wanted to
Okay,
make clear.
thank you. Yeah, because that corrected my
Yes, and also the
I
field,
misunderstood that.
right beside well travel.
Right.
Okay. All right. So, council, and Ron, you may have to correct me here. What does a motion need to look like since we don't have a resolution sitting in front of us to vote on?
You just need to just phrase it such that motion is to support the Juneteenth for the in-kind services, to waiver the fee, and then a contribution not to exceed $3,000. That what you have budget? Not to exceed $3,000 to go towards advertising other expenses.
Okay. Given that that is recorded, do you mind if I just ask for a motion, or ask for a motion to ask for his motion?
I have in mind that I've typed up.
Please.
Requested a waiver of the fees for the hub, a waiver of the fees for the street closing application, and sponsorship in the amount of $3,000.
All right, motion has been made.
I'll second it.
And there's a second. Motion is made and properly seconded. Given that you read it, you don't need us to restate it back to you. Got that one. Even I can figure that one out. Is there any further debate or discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, motion passes. Fantastic. Good job.
Thank you. And I do want to formally invite each and every last one of you again this year for the festival, June 21st, 12 to 6 p.m.
Good job on your presentation.
Yeah, yeah. All right, 9.2. Another thing we get to celebrate. Mr. Livingston, who will be presenting 9.2?
We have Crystal will be presenting that again on the Trillium Playground grant.
Yep.
So
This has been a long time coming.
I guess Felicia as well. Sorry, I didn't mean to leave you off of there. So.
So just really quickly, we're very excited to be able to, present this grant to you all to accept from Trillium Health Resources to fund an inclusive playground. So just a little background, the Mayor's Committee for Persons with Disabilities has really been advocating for an inclusive playground for years, even trying to do some fundraising initiatives. So we sourced out the Trillium Resources Inclusive Playground Grant. We had to go through an application process and submit a grant, several rounds of vendor interviews, and then of course we wanted to include the public, so we made a survey, just getting the public involved. They're very, very excited about it. Of course, closely working with Parks and Recreation to pick the perfect spot, so we picked North End Park, and also just working with the site and working closely with Ms. Felicia, making sure that we're bringing safe equipment, and equipment that of course include everyone on the playground. So the total value of the grant is $250,000, and we just request for you to accept it.
And there's no general fund match. This could have been a consent agenda item, but you don't do something like this on the consent agenda. You gotta recognize Trillium for the support, the work of the Mayor's Commission's Committee for Persons with Disabilities. I know Councilman Matthews has been on that for a long time.
Yes.
You got to recognize these folks when you get a chance to celebrate. And by the end of tonight, we'll have gone from 0 to 2. Assuming we can get a vote on that. Assuming we can get a vote on that. So yeah, this is pretty fantastic. From us, do you need a formal motion to? Is it a budget ordinance that we have to adopt?
Resolution.
Is it actually a resolution as presented, right? It's in the packet.
And I believe that Ms. Catherine's going to bring a budget amendment to the next meeting in June.
All right.
Felicia, I have one question. Is it a reimbursable grant, or is it just a outright check presentation grant?
It's an outright check presentation grant. So they're just to give us the funds, and we don't have to do a reimbursement.
You like those kind of grants?
Yes, yes. Yeah, we're very excited. Trillium has been very generous. They've been very easy to work with different presentations we've had to do, and just working with making sure we have the right vendor and the right equipment. So we're very thankful for Trillium to help us bring this to life.
And that's not going to change. That's going to be a good partner. Has already been and is going to continue to be. And council, there was a note going around earlier that I hope everyone saw. They have invited members of council that are able to be present to be there and formally receive the check at their board meeting in Beulahville.
Yes.
But hey, we'll do what we got to do to go get $250,000.
We sure will.
Yeah, well, I don't mind driving. Yeah. So with that, council, there is a resolution in the packet, a resolution accepting the Trillium Health Resources Grant for Inclusive Playgrounds. And so I'll entertain a motion to adopt the resolution as presented.
So move.
All right, motion's been made and properly seconded to adopt the resolution accepting the Trillium Health Resources Grant for Inclusive Playgrounds as presented. Is there any debate? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for your work on this. All right, next, item 9.3, Mr. Livingston or Ms. Glenn, whoever's going to take it.
Good evening, council. Again, we have an upset bid request for council, and this is from Mr. George G. Hill for 711 North Virginia Street. The offer is for $12,670. It meets that 50% of the tax value requirement. He has placed a bid deposit in the amount of 5%. So what we would ask the council is to accept or reject the offer. And if the council accepts it, I have attached a resolution to authorize finance to proceed with the upset bid process.
Yes, ma'am. All right, motion's been made that we accept the bid. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, motion's been made and properly seconded. Is there any debate? All right, hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor, please raise your hands. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, motion passes. It was unanimous. Thank you. All right, and now 9.4, another thing that I'm about to crawl out of this chair over. This has been one of those things that you didn't think was ever going to happen, and then it actually does.
Good evening again. I am here before you this evening regarding the lease agreement with the Wayne County Board of Education for the Edgewood Community Developmental School property. So as pretty much all of you are aware, back in 2022, the City of Goldsboro permanently closed Herman Park Center. The staff and programs that were housed at Herman Park Center were relocated to other locations, other facilities. Most of the staff that were at Herman Park Center, myself included, we were relocated to the little brick house next door, which meant the programs we had at the brick house next door, we had to push them out. But we also had staff that we placed at T.C. Coley Community Center and City Hall. So the programs that were occurring at the senior house, that's what we call the brick house next door. We now call it the administrative building, because again, we had to take over the building. So the programs that were at the senior house were then relocated to T.C. Coley Community Center and W.A. Foster Center. And some of these programs included senior card groups, because we had different card groups that played Monday through Friday. They were shifted to T.C. Coley Community Center. And a senior book club, we moved them to W.A. Foster Center. Additionally, other programs at Herman Park Center were relocated as well. So for instance, line dancing, which is held twice a week, was moved to T.C. Coley Community Center, as well as the pottery program that we have at T.C. Coley. Youth karate and access to fitness center were shifted to W.A. Foster Center. Programs for specialized recreation were mostly split between T.C. Coley Community Center and W.A. Foster Center. And I'm going through each of those things just to try to get everyone to understand. When we closed Herman Park Center, we literally, tried to continue with our programs and we pushed them out. So for those of you that have gotten calls from citizens saying, well, why aren't they offering this program? Or I called them and said, y'all should consider, having this program. We literally did not have the space, the capacity. As Matt mentioned earlier, we're on top of each other in that brick house. When we shifted programs to W.A. Foster Center, nights that were normally available for people to do a rental with a week's notice, we're like, we can't do that anymore because we have programs here now. So that's why I just wanted to take the time to go through so everyone understands the magnitude of what happened when we had to close Herman Park Center. And so with that, since the closing of Herman Park Center, other locations have been explored for the feasibility of housing staff, in addition to the programs that were at Herman Park Center, trying to bring everything back under one roof. Because it is kind of confusing to people when they come to the admin building next door, because it's right beside Herman Park Center, and they want to pay for something. And we're like, we're not set up to take payment. You have to go to either TC Coley or W.A. Foster, because that's where the cash register is, that's where the cameras are to capture the payment, for those audit and finance purposes. And this will help us to have everything back to normal for our public, I'll say that. So for the discussion piece, Wayne County Board of Education has property that was vacant for this 24-25 school year. This property is identified as the Edgewood Community Developmental School property. City staff toured the property and found it to be in a well-maintained condition. And it's not just Parks and Recreation saying, yeah, let's move in. No, we brought like engineering inspections, other city departments to come out and look at it. The property includes the school building, playground equipment, a walking loop, and an outdoor play area. The size of the property will be conducive for all staff that were once in Herman Park Center to be back under one roof. This property has been identified as an area Parks and Recreation staff can use for our office space and programming. And so with that, it's the staff recommendation that council approves us to go into a one-year lease agreement with the Wayne County Board of Education for us to move into this property, where the lease agreement will be effective July 1st of this year.
And Ron, you may be able to offer some clarity on this. Why a one-year lease?
Just to make sure the schools want to do something else with the property, right. And then make sure also that it worked out for the staff for programming purposes and using it. They want to commit to a longer term until everybody sees it's going to work.
Perfect.
Dating period.
So what, with that being said, so what's the way ahead? Have we even thought about a plan afterwards?
Yeah, we have, and we wanted to give us some flexibility in this in case something had, but we're also using our Parks and Recreation Master Plan, which we're doing right now, and they're looking at ways that we can incorporate this space into a future program along with our staff. So, but the way ahead is I would like to see us get ownership of that facility. And if we looked at it, years ago, we looked at $16 million to do a community recreation center. We can do something like this and repurpose this building for much less.
I agree with you.
Okay.
But also, within the terms of the lease, who picks up all the maintenance for this 1 year?
Well,
we do.
Well, the way the lease is written, we do, but I have a concern about that. So let's say we do this lease for 1 year, because I'm just trying to look at it compared to the leases that I sign. Let's say we do the lease for 1 year, and let's say the air condition, something happens and it goes out, and you've got like $200,000 repair, $300,000 repair. Is there, a lot of leases have it where it's capped out so that, for instance, we're responsible for the maintenance, but it's capped out at a certain dollar amount. And then the tenant would get involved and they would have to pay some, and then we would have to pay some. That's my only concern. I'm 100% for this, but as far as the responsibility of maintenance and all, usually in a lease there are caps in there for those things. I would be concerned if we got involved in a 1 year lease and then the air conditioning goes out, we're responsible, and I'm just making this up, we have to pay $300,000. That wasn't in our budget. So my recommendation is, could we possibly revisit and maybe put some cap amounts in there?
Well, let's let her answer the question first. Ron, and my understanding was it's a 1 year. I mean, we can always have the leverage of walking. I think this would be an awesome long-term option for us. But your point is very well stated. We don't want to get into something where that all of a sudden we're on the hook for some massive repair. My understanding was that we had the leverage of simply being able to walk away.
Even if we
What's
sign the
the
lease?
notice period back on that, Matt? Because I didn't bring that copy right there. But you got a notice period, so you can walk away from it. Tenants, let's see. Y'all can keep talking. I'll look.
So say it is a notice period in there, in the grace period of 60 days or 90 days, what have you. But even still, if something major was to happen, you know what I'm saying, I don't think we can walk away after the grace period. So I do think we need to put a safety clause in there. We don't want to go over there and, you know, because it's been vacant for a minute now. Yeah. So we just, you know, and I do know we had inspectors go through or whatever. We just want to make sure, you know, because we don't want to incur a major expense and then at the end of the lease we walk away from it. Then they have, you see what I'm saying? I do think we need to put some kind of safety valve in there. Like, I do agree that I'm excited about the expansion piece of it, but we do have to protect ourselves if something was to go dramatically wrong.
And can I jump in and also add, the Board of Education, the school system, they've kept the lights on in the facility, they've kept the air flowing in there. I've been over there several times as recently as this morning because I took some pictures just to show you all what it looks like inside. So the building has been well maintained. It's not where they moved the students out at the end of last school year, and even though the building's been vacant, they've turned the power off, cut the lights off, and it's just been sitting. You still have that airflow, which is what you need to have for a building to not essentially fall apart or crumble.
I do understand, but just looking out for the city, I just think that we need to have some type of safety clause.
So I agree with you because, council, one more concern. When I was reading the lease this weekend and taking it line by line, as I was stating earlier, let's just say we have to replace that air conditioner at $300,000. One of the lines that I highlighted this weekend in the lease, all improvements made to the property, and keep in mind we're only signing it for just a 1-year lease at this time. All improvements made to the property which cannot be removed shall become the property of the landlord. So let's say we had to replace it within that 1 year, then that property becomes the property of the Wayne County Schools because you can't remove it. So I'm 100% for it. I just think our verbiage, we need to change our verbiage a little bit and put caps in place as well to protect us and also the budget as well.
And right now, because it's a short-term lease to try everything out, right now we would make the decision of if we want to fix it or not. Yeah. And if we decided not to, it wasn't worth it, then we would just simply not repair it and walk. But
it's built into the contract of the lease. It's basic maintenance cost.
Right.
That's to replacing the air conditioner is not a basic maintenance cost. And so the example that's given in there, it states basic maintenance expenses. And it says
normal wear and tear.
E.g. normal wear and tear of the property, lawns, ground maintenance. So it's contemplated that huge repair is not something the city is going to be responsible for.
Okay. Does that clarify any of the concerns that have been expressed? I saw your hand up, and then we'll come back to the question, Mr. Boyd.
Well, and what's been discussed and described is pretty customary with commercial leases, and that's basically what this is. I've negotiated a few, and at the end of the day, that's what it is a negotiation, and we certainly are not doing ourselves a disservice by asking for more. That's the art of the deal, so to speak. But I would be willing to speculate that they're probably not going to budge a whole lot on stuff because they're basically giving us the building. So I mean, it costs $1,500 to rent a one-room, one-bed apartment, and we're getting an entire city facility for that money. So I agree, all of that is for our protection, but I would be willing to say that if we went and said, well, we'd like this and this or this, that they'd say absolutely, but it's $10,000 a month, not $1,500 or whatever. I mean, there's going to be some back and forth, and I think that the price is right, and they've allowed us to have a 1-year lease. It's, as he pointed out, it's not, we don't have to eat the cost of an entire HVAC. We're only going to be doing maintenance and upkeep or whatever. if we can't get any of that, I would not be scared to move forward with what we got based on what I know about commercial leases and the way out of it if need be. I mean, I'm all for asking and see what they say, but
because I understand what the city attorney is saying. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Lawrence, but when I was reviewing it this weekend, the line that stuck out to me is, I get what you're saying in that paragraph, but then it said the tenant shall be responsible for all repairs to the maintenance of the property during the term of the lease. So you're contradicting yourself in one paragraph than the other. So I just really feel like we need to, definitely we have an amazing relationship with them, but I just feel like for all parties involved that our attorney maybe could get with their attorney and just make sure that's just, get some clarification on it.
Or get clarification or an addition to that, because most of the time when it says for all repairs, a complete HVAC replacement is not a repair. That's a part of the structure itself, which is also why they said anything that you do that's installed, and that's customary in a commercial lease that becomes part of the building, you know, so far as the fixtures or considered a leasehold improvement. I'm okay with asking them to clarify that. That's a good point, but, you know.
I think we need more guidance than just to be asked to clarify. So I think the recommendation should be, do y'all want to say an expense not to exceed X dollars? Because otherwise, we're going to go back and forth for another month or two.
I agree.
Clarify X or Y.
Okay with that.
Councilwoman?
I was just going to suggest that we just add the word basic again, where it says repairs and all the things. So if we said it earlier in the contract, let's just add basic again, and hopefully that will eliminate some of the things.
Yeah, because I don't want to hold this up.
Copy paste.
Because I'm ready to move in. I know y'all discussing this, but I'm ready to move in.
All right, so would council be interested in taking a vote and approving a lease as amended, which I realize we'd have to go back to the school board to see if they could approve it or not, but at least give me the authority to sign a lease that is amended that would say tenant shall be responsible for all basic repairs and maintenance to property during the term of the lease. And then this next sentence, for example, this shall include items such as ground upkeep, something like that. That way it's a non-exclusive example. Is that fair?
To add that.
This very second sentence, in repairs, maintenance, and alterations.
Entitled,
is that reasonable for council?
I think that's fair.
Okay.
Just entitled repairs, maintenance, and alteration.
Right. And so in that one, okay. And so then it would simply read, tenant will be responsible for all basic repairs to and maintenance of the property to the term of the lease. For illustrative purposes, this shall include but not be limited to items such as grounds upkeep. Fair? Okay. And we got a video, so I don't know what I just said. Actually,
So I make a motion based on that amendment that we approve the lease as.
Motion's been made and properly seconded to approve the lease as amended. Any other debate? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Who's the second?
Who's
Mayor Pro
second?
Tem Jones.
I did.
Thank you.
And so now, Mr. Lawrence, if you would please go back to, is it still Richard? Is it Schwartz?
Yes.
Just go back to Mr. Schwartz or school board and let them see if that's terms that they can accept. And if they can, then we'll sign it. Good? Is that procedurally correct? Look at that. All right.
Okay, and I had some pictures that I could show y'all if you want or not. Or...
Vote's been taken.
Okay.
But if you want to show the facility, council, 90 seconds?
It's like 8 slides.
All right. I just want.
I told her to get pictures, so she wants.
All right.
It's my fault.
Well,
yeah,
if
he
you don't,
told me to do it last minute.
If you don't mind, because this is a big deal. The number of assets we just picked up for the Parks and Recreation Department.
All right. So of course this is the Edgewood property. The school system, they've already taken the name off the building. This is the auditorium area. For those of you that are very familiar with Herman Park Center, we call that the gray room. The picture on the left is me standing on the stage. The picture on the right is me standing on the floor facing the stage, just to show you how big that space is. This is the area behind the stage. So when you go on the stage, those two doors, you come out, and they of course have a ramp. This area was pretty much like the cafeteria area where the kids would eat. This area is behind the eating area. This is their kitchen. And so like for us, as far as cooking classes and things like that, we're really excited about this kitchen area. This is one of the classroom spaces, just to show you how big the space is, because this is what we're looking to convert to office space as well as programming space. This is going back outside. They have an all-accessible playground that does stay on the property. It is an older playground, but again, it's an all-accessible playground. It has the pour-and-play surface. It has ramps and easy access to it. There's also a paved walking loop around the playground as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
All right, that concluding sections 1 through 9. Mr. Livingston, your report.
I don't have anything, Mr. Mayor.
Anything further? All right. All right, it is the second meeting of the month. It is our tradition to begin with Councilman White from District 6 and then work our way across the dais. So for council member comments, Councilman White, the floor is yours.
I don't have anything, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Councilwoman Weeks.
I'm going to pass, Mr. Mayor.
Councilwoman Matthews.
No comment.
President.
Comment?
Mr. Boyette. You have an opportunity here.
No comment then.
And none for me either. I appreciate everyone's time tonight. Fantastic piece of the business that we've done this evening. So with that, now I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session for items related to personnel and potential litigation. All right, so moved.
Yes.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
All right, motion is made and properly seconded to go into closed session to discuss items related to personnel and potential litigation. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing one opposed. Perfect. Motion passes. All right, so we are in closed. action work.
Chris, you're ready?
Hmm? Oh. We're in open session. Mr. Livingston, is anything further to come before council this evening?
No, sir.
No? All right. Seeing none, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded to adjourn. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, motion passes. We stand adjourned.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time it gives me a great deal of pleasure to present to you. I know why you're here. Everybody wants to get out and do a little dancing, and later on it's going to cool down and it's going to be perfect, and we'll be dancing on the patio, dancing on the grass, because I've got tonight, bring it on stage tonight. Let's give it up for one of Beach Music.